Okay, we are on the week of Lag BaOmer. The beginning of this week is Pesach Sheni, Sunday, and Lag BaOmer is on Thursday, Wednesday night, Thursday. This is the week of the Parshas of Emor. And after Emor, we have a doubleheader next week again. Next week, the week after this, Bahar and Bechukosai. However, this week is Emor. And this week, we have Lag BaOmer. Let's talk a little bit about Lag BaOmer. Lag means 33rd day of the Omer, and every 33rd day of the Omer is Lag BaOmer. And when does Lag BaOmer come out? Always on Chai Iyar, 18th day of Iyar. Now, what happened on that in Iyar? Do we know what happened in Iyar? Well, if you go to this my header page and get this out, 26 questions on Schwab, you'll see things that happened in the month of Iyar. What happened in the month of Iyar? We'll get to that in just a moment. Let me read you a story in the Sefer Tamei HaMinhagim that came out a couple hundred years ago that happened in where Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is buried in Meron in 1923. Remember, he died 2,000 years ago. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is the last of the 5 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. He died 2,000 years ago, and he was Mechayim Mason people. And people were very happy. So he told people on his yard saying, no one should be sad, everyone should be happy. It's because here is a story that happened 1923, 80, 90 years ago in Meron, how a child had Tchias HaMason. Now this is a classical sefer called Tamei HaMinhagim. It was written way back in 1921, 80, 90 years ago. And it says on page number 263, about in Yoneh Hiludo Larajbi, the happiness of the birthday or the death day of Shimon Bar Yochai, which is Lag BaOmer. Now, the Chassam Sofer, who lived 350 years ago, said he doubts it very much if Lag BaOmer is really the yahrzeit of Shimon Bar Yochai. Chassam Sofer says, I'm not so sure about that. However, the world has been celebrating it for centuries, and he's not so sure about it. Let me tell you a story that happened in Meron in 1923. Maaseh Nes, story of a miraculous story. Upele, and a wonder. Shori'isi be'enai, what I saw, this man writes here, Vayisi be'Meron, when I was in Meron, Lag BaOmer, Shnas Tofreish Pei Gimel, 683, which is 1923. Shechal Oz Lag BaOmer Yom Shishi. Lag BaOmer came out on a Friday. Obviously, they were for Friday and Shabbos. Rov Kahal, Ma'alfei Yisrael, thousands of Jews. Shehoy Yishom Lag BaOmer B'Shoro Oz B'Meron L'Shbos Shom is Yom Shabbos. They wanted to spend, Lag BaOmer, and the next day Shabbos there. And they had the Friday night meal. And in the morning, Shabbos Kodesh, in the morning, there were thousands of people there. After Tfilas Musaf, that we davened in the Beis Medrash at the Tzion, at the monument of the Shimon Bar Yochai Meron, right next to the kever of Rajbi, about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Then there was a big screaming and noise. Rash Kodol, Sheyelet Echad, one child from our brothers, the Sfardim, that the mother brought him up there to make a tigaleches, an upsharing on Friday or Sunday. Ha'alokon, that's called upsharing, cut off their hair after 3 years on a little boy. That's a minhag known amongst Sfardim. Upissom, right away, Achazosel Yeled Machlas, terrible disease caught him, the little 3-year-old. And he stopped breathing, and he dropped, and he died. And he was in one of the little rooms there, because everyone had a little room. In that hole, the yard next to the holy caver of the Rajbi. And the doctors that were there commanded, and they called the doctors from the British government, that Tzricham Lasos Hesker, quarantine. No one could come out. Those fathers or mothers who were out walking around couldn't come into the gate. Those in couldn't go out. Everybody was quarantined. And it had to be like that for a few days, they said, till we find out why the child died. So many people started to run out of the gate, or run back in, or run out. So the police closed the gate, and there was a breakup in families. So the police chief of the government came and locked up the yard. No one could come in or out. And people were screaming from the outside, mothers would let me in for the little children, and little children inside were screaming for the mothers outside. It was a terrible confusion. Families were broken up, and the gate was closed, and everything was quarantined. And this woman who had this dead child couldn't contain herself. This is her first child after many years. She came to Meron many years, prayed to Rishon Bayichai for a child. Finally, she had a child, and after 3 years, she's bringing him to the caver, the Tzion, over the Rashbi, to have a upsharenish, and she called the child Shimon for Rishon Bayichai. And I saw with my own eyes, says the author of this, Hayeled Munach, the child was lying in his room dead, on the ground, Yoruk V'meis, green and dead. And everybody was very sad and unhappy for this woman, and for the mother, for the child too. They couldn't make Kiddush and eat the Sudo that Shabbos. They were very sad. Or suddenly, the mother of the child got up, put on her walking shoes and her coat, her dress, whatever. Took the dead child in her hand, came down to the base of Knesset, right next to the caver. You ever been there, Meron? Next to the Tzion of the Rashbi, the Tana. And she put him on the floor next to the caver. Call Ma with a bitter voice. She screamed with a voice, and she said, Hoi Tzadik, woe Tzadik, Tzadik, Rabbi Shimon, Hineni Amosecha, I am your maidservant. Bosika lekavodecho, I came here for your honor. Legalos b'nei, legalach bani hayichida, my only child. After many years, I named him Shimon. I'm going to shave him, give an upsharing, which means cut the hair off after 3 years. God gave it to me because of your schus. And I kept my promise. I said I would bring him here and giving upsharing, and that's what I'm going to do. Or maybe she did it already. To bring him here on BaOmer. And yesterday I brought him here. And I made the upsharenish yesterday, Friday, with music and dancing and songs and musical instruments and eating and food, with tofa, kinnor, with drums and the harp, with mishta, with simcha. And now what should I do from now on? B'li hayela, without a child, v'ezaponim avo habaysa. How can I come home when I brought him to your caver, and because of your caver it died? And she started to wail and to crying. Everybody heard it was wailing and crying on Shabbos. And water was flowing down everybody's face, tears like water. And people were moaning and crying. Then she got up and she said, Tzadik, Tzadik, you Tzadik, Tzadik, Rashbi. Hineni manichosol fanecho. I'm leaving him here the way he is. Oh no, please. I beg of you, Al Tishiveni, Al Taksa Parnai Rekum. Don't let me go back empty-handed, and don't let me come back with unfulfilled expectations. Taxirura Lefonai Chai. Bring them back to me live. Bria and healthy. Like I brought them yesterday to you. Yizkadesh, Shem Shemaim, Shimcha, B'olam. And your name and God's name shall be magnified in the world. And the world should know, Kiyesh Hashem, there is a God in the world, with Tzadikim Shoftim and Tzadikim rule the earth. L'Segula, Seguro, L'Segulo, and for a Segula, I'm going to put him and leave him in this room and lock the door behind me, and he's only there with you, nobody else. And no one was in there except the child. After a few moments, there was a voice heard, a child crying. And he was saying, Mama, Mama. And a big Talmud Chacham was over there, opened the door. The boy was standing on his legs. But so I can he was saying, I'm Ima, give me a little water. Yitzamani, I am very thirsty. But Nosner lo mine, they gave him water. Also, she brought him upstairs to the upstairs apartment. What her earlier apartment was upstairs where she stayed Friday night. There was a tremendous tumult going on amongst thousands of people. The resurrection of this dead child. Every single person came to look at this living child. The doctors were there, and they checked out this boy. They admitted and said, this is not natural. In Maisa Nisim of Tchias HaMesim. Atano of Shim Bayichoi. The quarantine was over. They opened up the gates of the walls of the gates, and everybody got reunited. Mothers with fathers, fathers with mothers, children with their parents. Quarantine. You don't have to make any more quarantine. Kiddush Hashem. Kol brother was a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. They called Kahal, Baruchu, they all made a bracha, Baruch Adar Hashem, and Kenem El-Chum, Sheikh Yishom, so it's run out, Tchias HaMesim. Marol, the Sefer Shah Yisachar, look at the Sefer Shah Yisachar, Lahar-Kodosh, Admor Harab, Mimun Kach, Sefer Tzad Yevrochem, Mamore, Chodesh Iyar, what he talks about Chodesh Iyar there, Maimer Gal Einai Os, God, open my eyes. Os number 10 in that sefer. Shekosav Shimon Bayichoi. The gematria of Shimon Bayichoi is gematria Mechaye Mason. Wow. They called the child Shimon, of course, and she got it because she prayed to Shimon Bayichoi. This is on page 263 of the Sefer Tamei Hamin Mahogim. That's an unbelievable story of Lag BaOmer. Now let's do some more questions on Shavuos and Lag BaOmer. Well, Lag BaOmer, why do we shoot bows and arrows? I told you last week because a bow is called keshes. And in the whole time that Rishim Bayichoi was living, there was no keshes in the world ever. Rainbow. A bow and arrow is called bow, and a rainbow is a keshes. To let you know that he was the protection of the world, that it shouldn't be destroyed. Hashem told the Noah, I may want to destroy the world again like he did with water, with the flood, but I may want to do it again, but I won't do it again. I promise you I'll put a rainbow in the sky that I may want to destroy the world, but I won't do it because I promise with you, it doesn't help people go bad or bad. Even if they are punished a few hundred years after the Mabul, it was a Dor HaFloga. So he says, I'm not going to, this os, he says, the os bris, this, I will never destroy the world, but whenever you see the rainbow, it means God is angry with the world. But they'll do it some other way. So the Egyptians drowned the Jewish kids in the river, because they said the Jewish God promised, no, I will never bring water and destroy the world. But they didn't know, these fools, that Hashem wouldn't bring water on them, but would bring them to the water. And the entire Egyptian army was brought to the water and drowned in the Yam Suf. And it says in the halacha, when you see a rainbow, by the way, you have to say a bracha. 6 words. Zoker habris, v'nemam b'briso, v'kaim b'ma'amoro. And you look at the rainbow, and you're never supposed to tell anybody you saw a rainbow. If they see it, let them make a bracha. You can't tell them anything. And they'll say, what are you, what were you saying something very loud outside? Well, I made a bracha outside. What did you see? I don't know. So the guy will go out and take a look himself. Why can't you tell your friend? It means you're telling your friend that Hashem is angry with the world, wants to destroy it, but he can't do it because he put a rainbow. You're not allowed to tell your friend. You're not allowed to gaze at the rainbow. You can look at it. You have to look at it before you make a bracha. But you can't gaze at it. Like when you say good Shabbos to a woman, you say good Shabbos, you have to look at her, but you can't gaze at her. Also, lestakel b'keshes. Also to Shulchan Aruch, forbidden to gaze at the keshes. And there's another thing you're not allowed to gaze at. The moon. The moon is called in Latin luna. If you gaze at it or sleep right under it and shine through your window and you're looking at it, you may become a lunatic. That's right, it affects your mind. Lunatism comes from that. Luna means moon. So suppose you're an astronomer, you have to look at the moon for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. You can't be an astronomer if you're from Jew. Well, it says that one of the 12 Shvatim, Yisachar, Yehuda and Bino and Etam, they knew times, calendar, and had the astronomical, all the heavenly bodies, how they move. Well, you got to know math and astronomy and look at the moon and study the paths and follow the thing. It's a whole life's thing, astronomy. You can't look at it. You have to study these halachas, what that means. When you look at the moon, you look at it for a second and you turn away 90 degrees and you say, B'Bittul Halavana, Kiddush Halavana, which is a mistake. There's no Kiddush Halavana nowadays. Kiddush Halavana was only in Bezdin. When they said, B'Kudish, we have it, Birchas Halavana. You don't Kiddush Halavana. Only Sanhedrin can do that. But we call it Kiddush Halavana. It's Birchas Halavana. And you look at it and you have to turn away because the guy, you shouldn't think you're praying to the moon. We don't pray to anything, anybody, just to Hashem. So you have to turn away when you make the bracha. And you're not going to turn your back on it. You turn to the side. There's a few times in your life you have to turn away. When you take off your tefillin with your left hand, you have to turn away from the Arna Kodesh, or from your Rabbi, or from a Talmud Chacham. You turn that way because you're ashamed, because you're supposed to wear tefillin all day long. We paskin that you're supposed to wear tefillin day and night. The only reason you don't wear it at night because you may let out some gas when you're not aware, so you take it off. But really, we hold that you should wear tefillin day and night. Others hold that night is not a time for tefillin, but we paskin, yes. But we don't do it for practical reasons. So if you wear it 40 minutes a day, that's good enough for the average person. Some people wear tefillin all day long, except Shabbos. And not at night, because we paskin, you can't do it at night, because Shem Yafiach, maybe you won't watch your body functions. So, but tefillin is mechuyev all the time. So when you take it off, you're ashamed you're taking it off. So you take it off with your left hand, and you turn away from the Arna Kodesh or your Rebbe or your friend. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. You have to turn away. You turn away from the moon when you make a bracha, so no one should think you're praying to the moon. And when you see a rainbow, you're supposed to also make a bracha, not facing it, turn away a little bit. We don't pray to anything. And that's with the rainbow. Okay. So rainbow is always, the bow is always up towards the heaven. Because the rainbow, if you had a string over it, like a human bow, a regular bow, the arrows would go straight up. If the bow was this way, that's a threat to the earth. So Hashem made the bow always that way. Concave, not convex. So convex is this way, and therefore if you put any arrows in it, it will shoot that way. Hashem is not going to destroy the world with water. So you say, wait a minute, come on. Rainbows come because of a natural phenomenon. When sunlight shines through droplets of water, it makes a different colors, you know. So if it makes different colors, then it's a natural phenomenon. It's there even before Noah. Even before Noah it was there. So what does that have to do with Noah? Yes, it was there before Noah because Ein Chodesh Tachas HaShemesh. There is nothing new under the sun. It's been there since day one. Except, how come it was curved? How come it was 7 colors? What does that mean? So Hashem told Noah, this is the reason. I'm not going to destroy the world, the animals, water. Very good. Why can't you have 7 straight white clouds? Why have to be curved? Why red, white, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet? The 7 primary colors. Roy, G, B, V, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, indigo, white. That's already a different subject. We're not getting into that. Colors, why red first and blue last? That's something else. They represent different things. As you know, in the Mishkan you had red and blue and yellow, and you red and blue and purple and white. Building the garden of the garments, or in the building the Mishkan, the curtains. Everything has a deep subject. Anyhow, that takes care of that. Let's now go into some of the questions on Shavuos. Last week we learned some. Let's learn a few more. What are the 5 names of Shavuos? Shavuos has 5 names. First of all, Chag HaShavuos, the festival of weeks. 7 weeks we count. Another reason, Chag HaShavuos is the Chag when we gave Hashem 2 Shavuos, Naaseh and Nishma. 2, Chag HaBikurim, when we bring the first fruits. Not oranges and apples, no. Only 2 grains and 5 fruits. Chita and Seor, wheat and barley. And Rimon, pomegranates, figs, dates, olives. The 7 minim, that was when you have to bring Bikurim from the 7 minim only. On Shavuos. Number 3, Mincha Chadosha, the first wheat harvest. Barley harvest was Pesach, that's the cutting of the Omer. But on Shavuos, 7 weeks later, we bring the first wheat. That's why you make 2 challahs out of chometz, called Shtei Halechem. The only kind of bread in the Mishkan is ever chometz, is Shtei Halechem, and carbon toda. Everything else was cakes, but they were matzah, they didn't ferment, but only Shtei Halechem fermented. Then another name is Zman Matan Torah Seinu. Mala Yom Matan Torah Seinu, because it was in 3 days. They had to prepare. Moshe said, give us 3 days. And then when they finally got to the Torah, it was given in 2 stages. One was a Friday when he said Naaseh and Nishma. And the next day Hashem gave the Torah. One was Kabbalah, and the second day was Matona, Matan Torah. When you buy something online, first you gave your card and you makabel it, you pay for it. Then you get it a week later. Or you go get gas, you put in your credit card, then they give you the gas. First you have to accept it, want it, then I can ship it to you. First have to be Kabbalah and Torah, then Matan Torah. Matan Torah was on Shavuos. Kabbalah and Torah was Erev Shavuos. That's how we get the whole concept of making 2 days Yontif. There's a whole thing built on that. And then, the Matan Torah, and the last thing is, it's called Chag Atzeres, the holiday of Atzeres, connected to Pesach. It's like Chol Hamoed. It's connected to Pesach. Atzeres means a connected. Otzar means to be connected. It's the end of Pesach. It doesn't have a date in the Torah. It just says count 49 days, and then you have Shavuos. Why? Because it's the purpose of Yetziat Mitzrayim, physical redemption, was spiritual redemption. To get a Torah, that was the whole purpose. You don't need a date, because you didn't come out of Mitzrayim just to be free. You came out of Mitzrayim only be Avdei Hashem. So it's the end of Pesach, like Chol Hamoed. Okay, Rabbi, so we don't have any more time. Zay Gesund Stark. If you want to learn more questions, go to Kol HaLashon, and you can hear every day a shir on this. And also, if you live in Brooklyn, you can tune into Radio Hidabrut, 97.5 FM on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Thank you.